Carol, I am confused though. The chef, I mean, he's putting together great food. He says he can't even get some supplies. I was told that the economy can just be paused. You just pick up a remote control and you press pause. And then whenever you're done with that, you just press unpause, and a $20 trillion economy with trillions of moving parts will just start working again. Is that not how it works?
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing. Who would have thought of this entirely predictable outcome? It's mind-boggling. The challenge, just to speak to what Shep was saying, is he can't get what he wants, but people still are spending. Prices are going up. And part of the reason we are still seeing the growth is because of those increase in prices. Eventually, as prices continue to go up, people are forced to cut back. They cut back their spending. Even just the expectation of that can weigh on consumer sentiment and make people decide that they're going to change their spending habits for fear of what's going to happen down the line. But to get to the second point, Jesse, no, you cannot just pause the economy, just like you cannot throw trillions of dollars of printed capital into an economy, just like you can't throw trillions in government deficit spending into an economy, just like you can't disrupt the labor market with disincentives to work and assume that everything's going to come out fine on the other side.
Chef, I know this is a nerd out on the details here, but I'm genuinely fascinated by this. Okay, I obviously know you need things to make things. You need things to make food, and those costs are going up as you just elaborated. When do you, as a restaurant owner, you're not made of money, not printing money here, when do you decide to raise prices? Because you're getting hit with these all the time. You can't hit your customers with a new price increase every other week. Do you just take it on the chin and try to spread those price increases out? How do you go about raising prices, which you have to do?
That's a great question, because the logistics that go into a restaurant raising their prices aren't as easy as just, well, we're going to increase the prices, right? You've got to print all new menus. You've got to reprogram point of sale systems. You've got more than one location. You're now communicating that across potentially a franchise system. So you're already behind 4, 6, 8 weeks sometimes if you decide you do want to change prices. So what we have to do now is we almost have to look ahead and increase prices based upon where we think the economy is going. But we're just running restaurants here. We're dishwashers and cooks. So it leaves us really in the dust when it comes to what the economy is doing. And then furthermore, we don't even necessarily have the staff necessary to operate at the levels that we need to operate in order to hit our projections based on today's prices, let alone tomorrow's prices, which is why you're seeing so many of these smaller businesses that aren't tied to a much larger multi-unit organization, private equity firm, or some sort of family office, or just massive open checkbook that are going under. And then that real estate that's sitting out there on the market is getting picked up by the larger corporations, which, to some degree, I think also goes back to Carol's great book.
So the individual restaurant owner doesn't have the obviously buying and frankly borrowing power to continue going, but the large corporations do. Man, Carol, I wish someone had written a book about this.
Yeah, it would have been prescient for somebody to kind of call this out and warn everybody about this some period of time ago. I want to back Andrew up on the things that he's saying. One of the things he didn't mention is that most restaurateurs, their profit margins are in like the 6 to 10%. So they're not working with a huge profit margin range to begin with. So either they have to try to raise those prices, and he so eloquently put, you have to really forecast out, or you have to internalize those, and there's not a lot of margin to work with. And then there's also the customer side too. At some point you raise the prices too high and they just don't think that it's worth it anymore, and they change their behavior. And so all of these things are really weighing on the small businesses of America. And as Andrew said, you mentioned, and the book says, this is what's happening in terms of centralizing the economy and taking away economic opportunities from the average American.
Chef, it doesn't feel like people really understand how bad it is out there, but it feels like they're starting to understand. You're on the ground serving customers every day. What are you hearing from people?
Gas prices, right? So it starts with gas prices, because you notice that those prices can change instantaneously, right? Not just overnight, but even multiple times in a day. And as I mentioned previously, with restaurants, there might be a 6 to 8 week lag time. So people start to talk about the gas prices and then the effect that that has, and then ultimately on the commodity prices, right? Like milk, et cetera. And they're coming into the restaurants and they're talking to me, how come you haven't increased your prices? When's it going to happen? They know it's about to happen. I think suddenly there's been a light bulb that really illuminated amongst many Americans who otherwise believed the propaganda that we were in a really good place and all of this was transitory, which was a lie, right? We need to understand that was a lie. They knew it was not transitory. You can't tell me that all of these these economists and these financial geniuses just happened to get it wrong. No, they knew it was where it was heading. I knew where it was heading, and I'm a dishwasher.
Carol, he brings up an excellent point, one I've asked several times. I mean, I saw this coming, and everyone knows I'm an idiot. So we have all these Harvard and Stanford guys who didn't see this coming. How am I supposed to believe that, Carol?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter if they are incompetent or nefarious, the outcomes are the same. But it is absolutely insane to think that the people who got us into this are now somehow going to get us out of this. And this is the part that, I just keep having a head scratcher. You had the head of the Federal Reserve, you had people in government, you had the Treasury Secretary, all these people who went through the whole litany of there's going to be no inflation. Oh, it's going to run a little bit hot. It's going to be transitory. Then, it's, your fault. And it's the greedy businesses' fault. Then it's Putin's fault. It just kind of keeps going down the line. And so these people who claim that they had no idea that was going to happen, they didn't know the supply chain was going to get disrupted. They didn't know the labor market had a huge supply-demand imbalance. These people now all of a sudden are going to figure out the policy to bring the economy in for what we call a safe landing and not turn us into either a recession or a stagflation type of period. I think, again, you don't need any sort of degree. I think a 12-year-old would figure out that, that's probably not going to happen.
Yeah, probably not. All right, finally, I'm going to ask you both this question. I'm going to go to Chef first on this. Chef, I obviously know as a business owner, it doesn't even have to be a restaurant owner, business owner, accountability has to be something you place a priority on. Somebody gets caught spitting in someone's food, not that ever happened at Slapfish, he's not going to be there anymore because there has to be accountability. Well, we have people across the government who have destroyed this economy and no one ever gets in trouble, ever. Does it drive you as insane as it drives me?
It drives me absolutely insane, but the accountability for me actually traces back to the hypocrisy. If you actually believed what you were saying, I'm not going to hold you as accountable because I just think maybe you're a moron. But if you are out there behaving in a way that goes against what you're telling everybody else to do, well, then you're going down by my standards.
Carol, are we ever going to see any justice in this life?
I mean, unless we do a full HGTV renovation on the government, not just like a soft goods, redecoration, but like tearing the darn thing down to the studs. I don't see how that happens. I mean, we had designed the government to have that level of accountability and to not do the kinds of things to create this level of moral hazard. But now with the size and purview of the government and, kind of government adjacent cronies like the folks at the Federal Reserve, it is just a huge bastion of non-accountability. And unless we do something, voting somebody out is not holding them accountable. And it's a joke. We barely even have a choice. We need real accountability built into the government, or we are just going to have a completely destroyed country.
Don't miss Jesse Kelly Breaks History, The Forgotten Genocide, the first episode of a new series available now exclusively for First TV supporters. Visit the First TV app or thefirsttv.com to subscribe and start watching today.